No matter where you live or what school you attend, there are always some people that seem to have the ability to effortlessly become everyone's best friend as soon as they walk into the room. But how do they do that? Well, I never figured that out. It took me time and effort to make friends, one at a time, so I only had a few close friends throughout high school, but it wasn't always that way. When I was younger, I was shy. Maybe it was because of my controlling mother, who didn't give me the chance to do things or make decisions on my own until I was much older. Or maybe it was because I was raised doing different things than the other kids. Early on, I couldn't join the conversations about SpongeBob or The Simpsons because I wasn't allowed to watch them, but I couldn't tell the other kids about the books I'd read because they didn't like to read, and I didn't have the skills to tell a story that would be able to keep their attention. Or maybe I was just born with that kind of personality. I struggled to talk to the other kids and didn't have many friends through elementary and most of middle school. I was lonely, but I had my books to keep me going. I read about groups of characters that went on magnificent adventures with their friends, saving the world and creating unbreakable bonds with each other. I didn't really understand what that meant at the time, but I liked the idea of knowing that there was always someone you could count on, whether it was for a joke and a smile or for a dangerous quest. When I was in 8th grade, I was really struggling. It was hard going to a small school where everyone already knew everyone, and no one wanted to venture out of their social groups to make new friends. But I had always heard that high school was supposed to be the best years of your life, so I decided to hang in there. When I was in 9th grade, a change came to the school, and to me as well. That change came in the form of a new student. Her name was Steph, and she was a little strange. She had brightly dyed short hair and was wearing a suit-like costume. She was also the only other girl in my homeroom. I was curious about this strange stranger, and also knew that I didn't want to sit at a table full of boys. As I stood in the doorway trying to figure out what I should do and looking at this girl from across the room, I noticed how some of the other kids were whispering and pointing at her, and no one was near her. I had been in that same situation myself, and I thought about all the time I'd spent alone and how I wanted this year to be different. And seeing how different this girl was from anyone I'd ever met, I also decided to do something different. With my heart pounding and my hands sweating, I faced this challenge with all the bravery my books had been able to give me. I walked up to the new girl, introduced myself, and asked if I could sit with her. She seemed happy to have me and was probably as lonely as I had been, but I was still nervous. I didn't know what to talk to her about or how to interact with this alien. We sat there in silence for what seemed to be forever. Eventually, she looked for escape by reaching into her bag, and she pulled out the strangest thing. It was a book, but none like I had ever seen. It was covered in pictures like a comic, but it wasn't thin like a comic book, and the cover looked strange, with the front and back flipped. Steph noticed me staring at her alien artifact and asked whether I had read the series. When I answered no, she pulled out another book with a similar cover and a big number 1 on its front and began to tell me about this particular manga, an alien word for her alien book. It was a story about an assassin who had become friends with a bounty hunter and left his organization so they could work together, and the misadventures the duo had. She handed me the first book and showed me how to read it, right to left, not left to right, offering to let me borrow it if I wanted. And as simply as that, I suddenly found myself with a best friend. She was strange, passionate, and excitable, very different from me, but we went together surprisingly well. We found that we did have a lot of things in common, and even though her love for dressing up in costumes wasn't one of them, she did manage to talk me into giving it a try, along with some of our other friends we met later down the road.